Now, as I mentioned at the top of this, we actually do have a first alert day in effect for not only the potential of a few storms in our northern hometowns, but we also have a heat advisory that is now in place for most of the TV6 viewing areas. So that high heat and humidity certainly going to be the weather story heading into the afternoon. So here's the details of that first alert day. It is in effect until midnight, where we do have potential heat index between 95 and maybe up to 105 degrees. So that's what it feels like outside. The risk of damaging wind is very conditional here in our northern hometowns. This is generally tied to areas near and north of Highway 30, so we'll have to watch storm development to our north a little bit later this afternoon and evening, because that's where we could see some of our northern hometowns clipped with that potential of a few severe storms. So there's our heat advisory. It affects most counties except for Knox and Joe Daviess County. Regardless, it's still going to be very hot, very humid here as we head throughout the day. It almost looks hot as you look from our First Alert Live Sky View camera, where we have a little bit of haze there in the distance. So hazy, hot, and humid is the story of the day here. As we look at temperatures right now, we're at 90 degrees in Moline. Galesburg sitting at 92 degrees. It's 86 in Princeton and Rock Falls. 88 degrees in Davenport, Muscatine, and Clinton. Sitting at 85 in Galena. But let's check out these feels like temperatures. I don't know what's coming up next here. It might be the dew point. The dew point, there you go. We've got upper 70s to low 80s, having some technical difficulties here on a Monday. But yeah, dew points are really, really uncomfortable. This is actually oppressive category, so we've already got those feels like temperatures between 100 and 105 degrees. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some locations get up to 110 degrees a little bit later this afternoon. But you get the idea. No matter where you're at, it's hot, it's humid, and luckily this is the last day where we see the oppressive humidity, because you notice on the muggy meter those dew points do start to go down here as we head into tomorrow, and we'll really start to feel comfortable heading into Wednesday morning. We'll have those dew points down in the 50s to near 60 degrees. Might see a spike up later this week, but we've got a reinforcing shot of some cooler air toward the end of the week and into the weekend, and that's where it's going to start to feel really comfortable. In fact, wait until you see the 7-day. We do have some 70s on the board. There's a look at clouds and radar. We do have some mid to high level clouds here moving through our northern hometowns. Otherwise, we have plenty of sunshine. We do have a stationary boundary that is in place here across the TV6 viewing area, and this is extending off to the west toward an area of low pressure in South Dakota. So as that low pressure rides that boundary, that's where we will see that potential for some of those storms to develop, and we'll really watch that here in our northern hometowns. It's where we have a level 1 to level 2 risk of severe weather. Again, this is mainly near the Quad Cities and points to the north, so if a storm were to develop, there is a slight risk for maybe a couple of those becoming severe, with 60-mile-per-hour wind gust being that primary threat. Could be a couple isolated tornadoes north of the TV6 viewing area. Again, this is very conditional on what happens to the north. Right now, I think that's where most of the forcing is, so that means that's where most of our storm development is. In fact, you'll notice here along that boundary in northern Illinois, there might be a few storms that develop between 4 and 6 o'clock. This primarily would be in our eastern hometown, so mainly east of the Mississippi River. Could see a couple of storms develop this afternoon, but you'll notice here just north of that first alert day banner, that's where we do have some storms developing here in southern Minnesota. Those are going to be the ones to watch here for our northern hometowns heading into the evening and overnight hours. So between about 9 and midnight, I think, is going to be that best risk or the highest potential for a few storms here in our northern hometowns, with 60-mile-per-hour wind gust being that primary threat. But after midnight, that threat will wind down as those storms move off to the east. And then heading into tomorrow, we'll start to get some northeasterly winds in here as that front and low pressure moves through. So we'll start to feel a little cooler here heading into tomorrow, but we will definitely see a little more cloud cover. So not as bright as what we had around here today, but we'll see off and on clouds here as we head into Wednesday as well. But notice that northerly wind, that's going to help usher in that drier air mass. It is certainly going to feel more comfortable here as we head toward the middle of the week. So high temperatures today, upper 80s, lower 90s, feeling more like 100 to 105 or warmer. Heading into tonight, our lows will kind of lag, or the cooler air will lag behind those lows. We're talking 60s to the north, 70s to the south, and then check that out, low to mid 70s north of the Quad Cities tomorrow. That is going to feel very refreshing. And we'll have low to mid 80s here as you head off to the south and east. So a quick look at the next 7. Yeah, no other first alert days in effect this week. In fact, upper 70s to low 80s throughout the entire next 7 days. You'll notice those overnight lows in the 50s and 60s. We'll be able to give the AC a break, especially at nighttime, and I'm sure your wallet will thank you as well. So again, we wanted to give you a quick programming note throughout the Olympics. We got one more week of this where we are going to be off the air because of NBC's coverage. So there's going to be no Quad Cities today at 11, no TV6 News at noon, no Quad Cities Live at 3, and no TV6 News at 4. 1 week from today, all of those shows will return, and we will have our regularly scheduled programming starting on August 12th after the Olympics. So, of course, anytime news breaks, you can download the QC I should say the QC weather app. That's for the weather app. And for the news app, it's the KWQC news app, and that's where you'll get push alerts sent to your phone, and you can find the latest news and weather updates anytime on our website, kwqc.com. This has been your midday news update. I'm Kyle Keel. Have a great day.